Hi everyone, welcome to WW Designs. My name is Nikki and today we are going to do a continuation video following the one I put up a couple of weeks ago where I used a Daphnes Diary magazine to make a snippet roll. I never thought about the fact that so many people would watch that video and have no idea what to do with a snippet roll. I've been in the junk journaling community for a long time now, and it never crossed my mind that some people might go, well, that's all very nice, but what on earth do I do with it? So I think we need to correct that problem, and I'm going to show you some really simple ways that you can turn a snippet roll into all sorts of pretty things. So the very first thing we're going to do is grab the craft mat and get that all nicely lined up. And now we're going to make some things. So the very first thing we're going to do is something that you can make.
I'm not sure I understand.
Oh, excuse me, that was my watch having a little chat to me. It does that every now and then if I move the wrong way. So if you are not into making junk journals, you can still use a snippet roll to make a bookmark. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to chop off a piece and turn this into a pretty bookmark. So I'm thinking the back of this is not the most delightful. So what if we glue it down onto a piece of book page, and that will just make the back look a little bit smarter. And seeing we're making a bookmark, why not use a book page? So all I'm going to do, no, not this horrible glue stick, I don't like that one. I'm going to grab my Oohoo. It's much better. We're just going to slather this down nicely. Get lots of glue on here. And then we will attach this to the book page and trim it out. Very, very simple. So let's just pick that up, line this up, just so that we get it relatively straight on the other side and press down. Now I do always like to use an old card to burnish things down just to help make sure they all stick nicely. And of course my current favourite card is my P&O cruise card that I just used on my cruise. So now we're going to trim this up. And also, because I only used magazine pages to make this snippet roll, it's not the thickest. So adding a little bit of thickness and strength is not the worst thing you can do. Now, these, of course, would make a lovely gift for someone who loves to read, or, of course, you can use it yourself. So there we go. Now we've trimmed that up. Now, if you are into junk journaling, and because I've gone with a bit of vintage theme here, now would be, oh, actually, no, what we might do before we do our edges, I liked rounded corners. You don't have to do this. There's no reason why they can't be square. I just like them that way. And what I will do, because the journal that I'm going to put these things in has a bit of a vintage theme, I'm going to stick with that plan, and we'll just very gently do our edges. I'm using Vintage Photo and a little finger dobber. I just find these the easiest to use. They're also incredibly cheap to buy, especially when you're just doing edges. Okay, there we go. Very, very simple. Now, we can also add a little bit more embellishment. Like, it's perfectly okay. This is a perfectly suitable bookmark. But there are a couple of other little things we can think about adding, especially if you are going to use them for a junk journal. It's sometimes nice to have something that sticks out over the top. So for a perfect example would be just to attach a little bit of lace. That works. It would also, of course, work in a book too. It would help you find your spot very quickly. Another really easy way to add a bit more deco is to add a tab to the top. But I know these tabs are designed to be used like that. I actually prefer to snip my tabs in half and then glue them on this way. I find they look more attractive, but that's completely up to you. But I'm going to do something a little bit different. You could, of course, if you, the other thing is, you know those pre-made tassels? If you have one of those, you could certainly do that. But I'm going to pop a little hole in here. And the main reason why I'm making this choice is because I've got this really cute little chicken here, or rooster, and I don't want to hide him or put anything up here that clashes too much with it. So we're going to flip this over. Now, these are just normal reinforcement rings, and what I do is I've made these by just doing this. Okay, very easy to do. Use your little dauber and voila. Then they look a little bit vintage and they're not bright white. So I'm just going to give this a little bit of extra strength by sticking that on there and trimming off the little excess. And that now just makes my hole a little bit stronger. And I found this cool wool in my stash. I bought, now where's the end? Oh, who knows? It'll be there somewhere. But look, we're going to save some time. We're just going to trim some off here. Trim that up too. And we'll make it'll end up with 4 little strings. Now I'm just going to grab my tweezers and then I'm going to try and hook this onto my tweezers and pull it through. I find that the easiest way to get things through holes when it's a bit rough and fluffy, just like this wool. So then I have to try and make sure I keep these together and pull my wool 4 bits through, gently tug it, and voila, we now have ourselves a cute little bookmark. All right, so that's our first thing that we have done with our snippet roll. Now, to do the next bits, I should say, I think we need to work in a journal so you can actually see what I'm going to do with these things. Now, this journal is one that I'm so sorry, I knocked my thing. This one I did last year. If you'd like to see a full flip through and how all this came about together, I have a playlist called Creative Collab Journal. It started back in 2023. This was all of last year's efforts, and of course now it's rolled into the next one that I have done. This was I'm in a Australian crafting group, and we had to make ephemera and share it with a swap partner. So all the ephemera in this journal was gifted to me by other Australian crafters, but I still have some space. So I thought, why don't we add this bits that I'm making today to this journal, because I think the vibe is a really good match. Now, if you have never made a junk journal before, I have plenty of videos on how to make journals, how to decorate journals. Just have a flip through all the videos I've posted and you can find it. If you know how to make a junk journal, then there's a very good chance you also know how to use a snippet roll. But anyway, I am going to show you how we can turn a junk journal page into something quite attractive very easily using a snippet roll. The other beauty of a snippet roll is 2 things. Number one, now, if you watch the video, I added all these little add-on pieces, little bits of decoration. You could make a snippet roll on the plainer side, not add decoration, and then use it for the theme of junk journal that you're working in. In this case, this is a botanical nature journal, so my little bits of deco are going to work in very nicely. So the next thing we're going to do, very simple, we're going to make what is known as a belly band. Now let's have a look here. Do I want to use that bit? No, I want to keep that for a minute. Maybe we'll start down. Oh yes, we might start down the other end here. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to trim it right there because I don't want to lose my pencil. I do like that. So let's pop that out over there. And then we're going to trim a little bit off the bottom because it's a tiny bit too long. Now, in the most simple form, a belly band is simply a decorative strip that you attach to a journal, and it creates a place to tuck things in. So when I do this, I do not use, where's my glue? Here we go. I do not use Uhu glue. I don't feel it's tough enough. My favourite glue for anything that's on the thicker side is Helmer Tiger Grip. I buy this from Spotlight or from many cheap shops sell this. Honestly, it glues down everything and anything, and I adore it. But this nozzle here is very wide and generous, so I always put it into one of these little smaller bottles. This is supposed to have a metal tip, but of course that's floating down there somewhere. I'm just running a thin strip at the top and the bottom, because obviously we don't want to apply glue here, because what we're doing is creating somewhere to add some deco. So we're just going to place that. It can be in the center, it can be on the edge, it doesn't matter. We'll just hold this down for a few minutes. And voila, we now have a place to add ephemera. If your snippet roll is on the plainer side, you can then add bits and pieces, glue on all sorts of things, but I'm going to leave mine the way it is, I think, because I love my little cat image and the other bits and pieces that I've added to it. But feel free to add any decoration that would appeal to you. So that's the easiest thing. The other thing is, depending on how wide your snippet roll is, you can also put a piece of cardstock or paper on the back of it and stick this on to make it a little bit wider. But I think mine is perfect just like that. So there we go. That's another thing we can do with a snippet roll. Then on the other side here, let's see. Which bit shall I use? I might grab this bit here. Okay. All right. And we might round two of the corners with this one. Let's get that done. You don't have to round corners, but I'm going to. And look, no, I won't put any colour around the edges because I didn't with this piece. So let's make these a nice little matching pair. And this is going to be what is known as a tuck spot. So again, we just grab our glue and we make sure we put it on the square corners. And we just run a strip just down one side. Okay. We don't want to add glue anywhere else, because the whole idea is once this is down, this becomes another place to hide things. So again, in its simplest form, that's now a tuck spot where you can tuck in journaling cards or anything that you like. Now I might, seeing I have this moth here, I do feel I wouldn't mind adding that into the mix here. That would be a good match with that. So why don't we add a bit of glue, not the whole way across, because I like things sticking over edges. I'm very partial to that. So we might just add him there, and that way this little wing can still stick out. There we go. And of course, as I said, get elaborate as you want. Add lace, add anything that will match the style of journal you are doing. And there we go. See, we now have a tuck spot and they match beautifully. All right, now I'm going to move this out of the way for the moment for the next thing. Okay, so I'm looking at this. The next thing we're going to do is what is known as a hidden paper clip. And I like this little area here because once I've cut it out, you will see, let's just trim that down. I need to fold this in half to make a hidden paper clip. So it's going to go at the top of my journal. So it's a great idea to pick something that won't look unattractive on both sides, as in this won't be upside down. Some of this stamping is a little upside down, but that's sort of not noticeable. You wouldn't want to have, like, let's say you had a cat on here, and you don't necessarily want it upside down. So this is a perfect little piece for that. Now, to make a hidden paper clip, you will need a piece of scrap paper and a paper clip, which I have hidden on my, up there it is. Now, the only thing you have to think about with a hidden paper clip is that your little piece of scrap is smaller than your main decorative piece, okay? Because you don't want to see any of this. Now, to make a hidden paper clip, we're just going to add a little bit of glue here and a little bit of glue here. And we're going to slide the paper clip onto that. Okay. Just like that. Now, normally I would put this aside to dry for a little while, but for the sake of keeping things going here, I'm not going to bother. But the reason why I always put a bit of glue underneath is if you do this, you probably won't get any underneath. And when you are adding your glue, don't go right up to the edges. You need to be quite generous, but just don't go right up to the edges. Otherwise, when you pop it inside here, it may very well glue your hidden paper clip together, and that's not what you want to achieve. So then you just pop this in here and fold this bit over and press. And then just let that settle for a few minutes and dry. This glue does dry quickly. You just got to give it a little time. And again, you have the choice to add more decoration if you want to. So what I might do, I quite like that side the way it is, but this side, that's sort of a little bit boring. So I did cut out a couple of things here, which I can add. So we might put the little flower down there. And then I've got this cute little butterfly. And again, I want this to stick over the edge a little bit so we won't go right up to the tip of the wing. Voila. And we're going to pop him down there. I don't know. There we go. So that looks great. And then this side also looks good. So I don't think that needs any further decoration. Then we go back to our journal and we find a place that has some space. Let's see. Yes, this is pretty full, this journal, but we'll find a spot. Oh, here, this is perfect. Right. This is a hidden paper clip. And no, actually, then maybe we don't want another hidden paper clip right next to that, do we? How about, oh, now this could be a nice match if we, seeing this has butterflies, how about, just shimmy that over a bit. Now, what we're doing is, if you open this up gently, you can see the aim of the game is to get right into the middle here, and then just simply clip it to the top of the page. You can, of course, depending on your journal style, you can also make them for the side. That works just as well. And voila, you then have a little spot to add a journaling card or any other decoration that you might like to create. And because there's a little paper clip in there, this actually holds really nice and steadily. So there we go. That's another thing we can do. Now, the next thing, as my snippet roll is not very wide, can't really make a pocket. You'd only be able to tuck something very, very narrow into that. So what we're going to do, there it is. It's up here. Okay, so what I've got here, this is from a Daphnes Diary magazine. I decided to create my pocket using the same thing. And I'm going to add this down the side here. Okay, but I think, which bit should I use? Maybe, I think that bit. So let's grab the scissors. I'm going to trim this off. And we're going to glue this onto here. I'm just going to use my Uhu glue because this is quite thin paper. It will get all wrinkly if I use the other glue. So we want to try and avoid that. Okay. So now, wait a minute. I just need to add a bit more glue at the top there. And let's use this bit here. Try and line that up nicely. There we go. Oh, actually, hang on. I don't like the fact I've lost his wing. We're going to move it up a bit. Okay, that's fine. Okay. And we'll just leave that edge bit on there. That's not a problem. Trim that off. Voila. Now, no, I didn't quite trim that straight. Okay, so we have that there. Now, with a lot of pockets, it's a good idea to, now where's about the halfway mark? Create a little, I don't want to lose my flower though. Oh dear, see these decisions. Sometimes you just never know. Do I want to do it off center? I don't really want to lose my flower. Well, I suppose we could. Oh, hang on, never mind. We're going to do it off center. A little bit weird, but that's okay. I just don't want to lose my flower. So we can have it slightly. Oh, it's only slightly off center. That worked quite well. The other thing I don't really like is this 33DD, which is Daphnes Diary. So we're going to grab the glue stick and we are going to put a tiny little label. They're very popular in junk journals, and that nicely covers that. Now, this is a bit too bright, so I think we will do our edges with Vintage Photo. Go. Fabulous, that's that done. Now we need a page in our journal. Let's find one. Okay, here we go. Let's see, where can I fit? Oh, look, that's perfect. And there we go. So now all we have to do is we just apply glue. And it may get a bit wrinkly because this is not so thick, but that's okay. We'll try and flatten it out. This one should be fine because it's a little bit thicker. Voila. And down we go. We now have ourselves a snippet roll themed pocket. Perfect. And we can slide some ephemera in that. Oh, that's a nice match. I like all the florals and the bees. So there we go. There's our pocket done. Now, let's see, what can we do next? We're running out here. I could, honestly, if this was double the length, I could keep going, but it's okay. We will do the best with what is left. Now, the most logical thing to do with this last bit would be to make this a journal card or a tag. The big decisions in life. It really doesn't matter. But what I'm going to do, again, not wrapped in this at the back for a journal card or a tag. My next favourite way to fix that problem is grocery bags. We don't have plastic bags in Australia anymore. When you go grocery shopping, it all comes in paper bags. And only a little bit of it has branding. So I love using this. I love the brown colour, the craft colour on the back. So I don't think, no, there's no branding on this one. That's perfect. So we're just going to press that down and then burnish it. I'm not going to burnish on top of the snippet roll because there's probably some tiny little edges that maybe aren't quite thick enough. And we're going to trim this out now. So making a snippet roll a little bit thicker could be very handy. Get rid of that. Because it would make obviously wider tags and things, but this is still going to work. Now has a lovely plain background, and we are going to turn this into a tag. We're going to simply snip that over. We're going to cut our corners. I just always flip that over. There we go. We have a cute little tag. And I might just leave it just, oh no, we probably should have, actually, why don't I use my piece of lace here? Why don't we do that? I grab this out. I'm going to trim it a little bit shorter, and the reason being, if it's a little bit shorter, it's easy to get my little mini stapler into it. If things are too long, it all just gets a little bit too difficult. So I found a bit shorter does the job. And we just have to line this up. Try and not let go of it. I have had this stapler since I was a little girl at school. I will just have you know. Yes, and I could go and buy a Tim Holtz tiny attacher, but I'm very attached to this staple considering I am 59 years of age and I had this when I was a little girl. I just can't let it go. I love it. There we go, and we've popped that on our tag. Why don't we pop that into our pocket? Voila. There we go. And then add another, actually this is quite a wide pocket, so we can add that nice journaling card in behind, and we have a tag. Now, unfortunately, I am just about out, but I have luckily one tiny piece left that I'm going to use. And what we're going to do is make a very quick and simple charm. So this tiny bit we have left, I think I might work with that part there because I quite like that leaf. So we're just going to stamp a circle. We're going to grab our pokey tool and we're going to make a little hole. And I only want a little hole, so obviously no hole punch for this. So we'll just use a pokey tool to make a hole. We are definitely going to distress this edge. It doesn't get much simpler than this, I can tell you. Okay, that's done. And then we're going to use a bulb pin. No, we're not. We're not putting that on yet. We need to find the charm that I dug out of my stash. Here we go. Right, so this little charm I've had in my stash for ages. It is the cutest little cookie jar with a cookie that dangles off it. And then we place this on there and we have ourselves a really cute little dangle. And the best way to add dangles to a journal so that they're nice and solid. Actually, here's a good example of one. That's actually a very large tag. But if you add a tab to the side of your page, so let's find a page. And also, when you're doing this, use a page that's quite sturdy. If you don't, you could end up with tearing your page, so we don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is simply, no, I'm going to do it the way I prefer it. And where are my scissors now? Honestly, Nick, this desk is, there they are, this desk is getting out of control. I prefer my tabs to look like this. So what we're going to do before we glue it together, I'm going to put these two sides together. And try and get them to match up, which is what they should do. And I'm already going to use my pokey tool to make a hole. Just makes it a lot easier to do it now than when it's stuck in your journal. Okay, so we'll just get that hole done. Then we add some glue. All around. Obviously on the inside. This one is very easy to remember because the inside is quite unattractive. So we pop that in there like that. Actually, hang on, I need to bring this over so you can actually see what I'm doing. Just one moment. Let me shimmy this over. That's better. So I've glued one side down. I'm going to use my tweezers to try and help me place this in the correct spot on the other side, because we want our little holes to line up too, of course. There we go. And then when that's dry, I'm going to pop it on now because, again, trying to save time, but normally I would always allow this to dry first. We then just pop this through our hole. Get it to line up. There we go. And voila, a super cute, very easy little charm for the side of our journal page. So I'm going to have to stop here because I have no snippet roll left, but I think you get the drift. There is actually nothing you can't make with a snippet roll that would be perfect in a junk journal. You just have to use your imagination and think about some of the standard things that we make for junk journals, and you use a snippet roll to create pieces so that you can have some nice cohesion, and it's a great way to use up a magazine. So I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments box below, and I apologize for my ignorance that I didn't even consider that some people may not know what a snippet roll is. But hopefully this has now helped you see that, yes, they are a very popular thing in the junk journaling world. So if you've never made a junk journal, well, then you can make some bookmarks. But otherwise, make them for your journals. They really are a great way to add decoration. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. And until next time, stay safe and stay healthy. Bye for now.